Hey there, I'm Douglas from Draftbit. In this video, we're diving into the slider component. This is a versatile component that allows users to select a value from a fixed range of numbers, making it perfect for building interactive features like volume controls, price filters, or any range-based inputs. Let's explore how to add this to your application. First, you need to navigate to the component picker and click Add. Then we're going to search for the slider component. After adding the slider component, go ahead to the Data tab. And first, you're going to see Data Source. So by default, when you create this slider component, it's going to go ahead and create a slider value variable. So this is where it's going to add the values. So as you move the slider, it's going to be adding the values in that variable. So if we head over to variables, we're going to see this slider value has been created and it's of type number. So it takes in a number. So let's go ahead to the device preview and click web preview. And now let's move the slider. So as you move the slider, it's updating the value and saving it into slider value. And how we can see that this is actually happening, let's add a text below the slider so we can see the value in real time. So we now have some text. I'm going to go to this text component, to the data component. Then I'm going to create a variable. So you do that by having double curly braces. So then here I'm just going to say value. And once I click outside, the variable gets created. And I want this variable to be linked to the slider value. So now it's going to start as 0. As you can see, there's a 0 there. Let me just increase that font. Then have that be centered. So now if I go back to my slider and I slide it, we now get the value being shown in real time. Then up next, we have minimum value. So this sets the minimum value for the slider. For example, you might want to use 0 for a volume control, starting at mute. Then you adjust the property panel to define the lowest value. So by default, it starts at 0. So it starts at 0 and ends at 100. But if you, for whatever reason, you want to change this, you can change it here. So you can say I want my maximum value to be 200, for example. And now, when I slide this, it now ends at 200. So you define what you want. Then up next, we have left icon. So this allows you to add an icon at the starting point of the slider. So if I come here, then I just click this play icon. Now we have a play icon at the start of the slider. Same for the right icon. It's just an icon that's being added to the right, just as this was an icon being added to the left. Lastly, we have the disabled property. This allows you to make the slider non-interactive. When enabled, the slider appears grayed out and cannot be moved. So if I say true, the slider then gets disabled. And as you can see, the slider, it now no longer moves. Next up, let's move on to the configurations, where we have the component name. So this is a unique identifier for your slider in the component tree. By default, it's called slider, but you can rename it to something more descriptive like volume slider or price range slider. Then up next, we have the step. This property controls the increment by which the slider value changes. So right now, if we move it once, right, you'll notice it's moving sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 200. So yeah, we can come to the step and say, I just wanted to move in increments of 30. So now when I slide, it's going to force me to go to 30. So it's now moving in increments of 30, right? Until it reaches the end. So this is what the step controls. So if I put a 10 here, it's going to move 10, 20, 30, 40. So that's what the step controls. Now let's talk about how to customize the appearance of the slider. Styles, and we have component specific styles. We have the max track color. This property defines the color of the track to the right side of the slider's thumb. So this is what we call the thumb, this round part. And we're saying on the right side, what color do you want the right side to be? So we can say red, and now on the right side of the thumb is now red. But then we also have the left side of the thumb. What color do you want that to be? So yeah, we can say I just want it to be black. And now the left side of the thumb is going to be black. The right side is going to be red. Then here we can even specify what color do you want the thumb to be. So I can say I want the thumb to be a medium color, which is like a brown color. And now we see the thumb is now brown. So yeah, we can control all these styles. Then lastly, we have interactions. The onValue trigger runs an action whenever the slider value changes. For example, when you move this slider, then this gets triggered. And to test this out, we can click, and what we're going to do, we're going to console log. And what I want to do, I want to display the value in the console. So whenever that changes, I'm going to display that value in the console. So now when I move this and I leave it alone, it's going to run this onValue change, and it's going to console log like what I specified. And so each time that I do this, it keeps on running. Right? Instead of having this console log here, you can make an API call to the backend to say, so when the value changes, I want you to do this action, or when the value changes, I want you to perform this action. So this is where we can control this. And that's a wrap for the slider component. We've covered everything from adding the slider, working with this automatically created variable, customizing its properties, and styling it to fit your app design. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Draftbit channel, and let us know in the comments what other components you'd like to learn about. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.